I'm dyslexic, so I don't read books. I listen to books on Audible. And then if I think they're meaningful and they could change my life and give me an advantage in the investment world, I buy the book, I go through it with a yellow marker, I put tabs on it, and I reference it, and I learn from it. I'm reading a book right now, this one, that I think is going to change my world dramatically. And I think you should read it. First of all, I'm going to tell you, go into the description and you'll find a link to Audible. If you do not belong to Audible now, you can go to that link and you can get this book free. What I want you to do is let's do that and listen to it this afternoon. I want you to skip part 1. I want you to go to part 2. It's entitled Now. What you're going to learn in the next hour in that first chapter in that book is how the world is going to change, how biology is going to merge with technology, much as Steve Jobs says it would in 2011, and it's going to change the world. It's going to explain to you that this change is going to be as important as the change that happened on May 17th, 1877, when Alexander Graham Bell demonstrated in Chickering Hall in New York City, the first exposure to the telephone, and that how that has, since 1877, has evolved into what we have today, and that is an internet with satellites, low orbiting satellites going around the country or the world, that gives you the ability to communicate with anybody in any way that you want, from not only the written word, but to video, to any way you want. And that's where we are today. That is the comparable to what technology and biology is going to come together to change our world. And if you will do what I'm asking you to do, just go to that link, get that Audible book, listen to it today, and then plan your investments accordingly from what you learn. As I say, I'm only halfway through this. I don't think I'm a third away through this book, but this book is going to change my life. Let me tell you a little bit more about it after I tell you this is not financial advice. This is the best damn financial education you're going to get in your lifetime.
Best of Us Investors presents Kerry Griegmeyer.
I hope I can explain this such that you understand it, such that you are intrigued, such that you share this video with anybody you care about, because what I'm going to tell you is going to give you an introduction into the world that is changing. Over the last 40 years, the internet, the cloud, has given us the ability to accumulate tremendous amounts of data. That data is housed in data farms around the country, huge football stadium-sized buildings filled with data that we then use for the decisions that we make on a daily basis through the internet and whatever. What's happening is that Moore's Law, back in 1965, Gordon Moore said that the capacity of a semiconductor to hold data was going to double every 18 months. And that has worked well for us up until this time. Well, with the advent of artificial intelligence, that accumulation of data is going to escalate exponentially, and our ability to keep up with it is being challenged by the makers of semiconductors, and so now what science is coming forward and saying we've got a better way, and that is, rather than to store that data in data farms or keep it in data farms, but we have a better vehicle by which to store that data, and that is DNA. DNA is what stores the data in our body in the form of molecules within our cells, and then distributes that data to keep our body functioning. And the capacity of a DNA to that of the computing power we have today, the comparison they give me in this Chapter 5 of the Genesis machine book is that all the data we have today could fit in a 2.5 gallon jug of milk if it's in the form of DNA. All the data that we have today in these data farms, if we can transfer it to a DNA source, it would consume a 2.5 gallon jug. Well, how do you transfer DNA or make DNA available to hold data? You synthesize it. Okay, you go into the lab, you break it down through genome sequencing, and you find out what it's made of, what the molecules within it are, and then you synthesize it. There is a company by the name of Twist Bioscience in Silicon Valley that is backed by Microsoft in their function called Station B, that is creating the capability of synthesizing DNA that then can receive this data and put it on a microchip and then make it available to the world in the future. In the future, and it's essential that this be done to keep up with the data that is going to be generated as a result of artificial intelligence and machine learning. What it is, and it was explained to me. I was talking to Trent about this. He said, that makes total sense. And I said, what do you mean it makes total sense? He said, well, the ability of our brain to process data through DNA is so much greater than that of a computer, because in reality, we only use 10% of our ability. Our brain only has the ability to process 10%. So if you can take the mechanism, the DNA, and then put it into a computer and then feed the data through artificial intelligence and machine learning, yes, DNA is the answer. Okay, you understand it? I said to Trent. He said, yeah, totally, I understand it. Good, because I hope my viewers can understand it. So with that in mind, what I'm looking for is who are going to be the leaders in this? Who are going to be the companies that are going to make all this possible, that are going to take this DNA concept I just shared with you and put it on a computer chip or a semiconductor that then can process that information to make our world a better place. And what are the ramifications of that? After going through this and reflecting to the first part of the book, where they explained to me in 1889, there was an effort to start to understand the discovery of insulin, and then insulin didn't really become available to us until 1978 with synthetic insulin. In other words, it took somewhere in the neighborhood of 90 years to make that for that to happen. With the technology that they're producing now, that 90 years can be brought down to 9 minutes, okay? And that's what the future holds for us. So I'm then looking for who are the companies that are going to benefit from this, who are the companies that are going to make this happen. I've already mentioned Twist, and Microsoft. They also, in this chapter, and I want you to read this chapter, they mention a company by the name of Roswell Biotechnology. if you and I can learn what companies, I'm sure that Amazon and Google and Microsoft and Apple are going to be at the forefront of these, because they have the money. They have the money to finance these companies, much as Microsoft is financing Twist, to make this happen. They know about this. They are leaders in this. You got to know. Google owns DeepMinds in London, who has just recently processed all the protein in the world. And again, that becomes a part of what I was talking about just earlier about DNA and protein, and using the body functions to and learning from our body functions on how to store data. They in the description, they say where DNA functions is a function of storage through data is storage in molecules in our body, and then the electrons in our body are what process it. The same thing will happen on a semiconductor, with DNA holding the data and then electronics processing the data. Okay, this is deep. And I'm only on chapter 5. I can't wait till this afternoon when I go and take my 2.5-mile walk and listen to chapter 6, and then go beyond that. But I want you there with me, okay? I want you to go to the link in the description, get your copy of Audible, listen to this, and then show up Friday at our Stock Talk, and let's talk more about this. This is beyond my mind's capability, okay? So I need help, and I'm screaming out, join our Discord. There's a link to that right below the link to the Audible, and show up Friday at our Stock Talk, and let's talk more about this. Because, folks, this is an opportunity of a lifetime. I did a 1-minute video over on Instagram that said there are going to be more billionaires made in the next 5 to 10 years than there have been in the history of mankind, as a result of what I learned in chapter 5 of the Genesis machine. I hope you can figure this out with me. I hope you join our team. That's what my channel wants to be all about. I want to make you a billionaire. I'll talk to you more about it tomorrow, because I'm going to read chapter 6 today.